If you didn't understand before, I hope you understand now. Because you're now listening to the We Talkin Podcast, brought to you by Island Guilty. This podcast, we are literally talking about every and anything with your girl, Camila Gomes. So subscribe from wherever you get your podcast and get ready to talk. We just want to state here at the We Talking Podcast that there was a conversation about Carnival in St. Martin throughout this podcast. At this time, we did not know that the event, including the Heineken Regatta, would have been canceled. So just that little disclaimer that we had this conversation before we knew that the event was canceled. So enjoy the podcast. Welcome to the first episode of the We Talkin Podcast presented by Island Guilty. I am your host, Camila Gomes, and I am super excited for this journey. For our first episode, we'll be talking with Sinkit's very own Dennis McCall and how COVID-19 has effect on our tourism industry. So before we get started, let's learn a little bit more about Dennis. So like I mentioned, Dennis is hailing from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Throughout his youth years, he makes sure to be a part of the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament as a general member, as well as a public relations officer. From then, he also went to become a school teacher, teaching in food and nutrition and home economics. And then he was also appointed the dual roles of CARICOM Youth Ambassador for St. Kitts and Nevis and the Dean of CARICOM Youth Ambassador Corp. Crazy. After that, he went to the University of West Indies, Cave Hill, to get his bachelor's in tourism and hospitality. And from that time, now he traveled across the world to the United Kingdom to go to the Montfort University with his master's in air transportation management, which he has a distinction in. And of course, now he's currently working on his Ph.D. in aviation. The man has brains. We're going to have a great conversation today about tourism and how COVID-19 has an effect on tourism in the Caribbean. This is our conversation. So welcome, Dennis. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm actually very happy to be on the first episode. I know Cam has been talking about this for quite some time now, so I'm really happy that I can be here, and I hope that we have a very fruitful discussion. You know, we may have some little jokes here and there, but tourism in the Caribbean is a very serious thing, and I can't wait for the Caribbean to be released from the shackles of tourism. Yes.
Yes, we need to be released from those shackles. And talking about that, we just was going to jump into the conversation. So tourism has been our main industry, basically, all of the 20th century, all of the 21st century, especially with most islands. So it is very interesting to see with the bigger countries such as like Jamaica and Trinidad, who have other industries as well, benefit so much from tourism. So my first question is basically how those bigger countries adapted to that, especially since for us smaller countries, us in the Leeward Islands, that's all we really have.
Okay, well, first let me just take a little. Let's backtrack a little bit. We're going back to 1841, where Thomas Cook, who is known as the father of tourism, where he had his first tourism activity, and that was a simple tour from Leicester to Loughborough, right, which is just an hour away from me. And the main purpose of this tour was for persons to escape from their everyday lives. This is this is a time when the Industrial Revolution was happening as well. And you know, from going into that revolution, everybody was basically working. So they used that tour as a time for them to escape, relax. That's what tourism is in a nutshell. So the Caribbean is seen as the place of ultimate relaxation. It still is seen as that today. In the past, it was seen as that, and in the future, it will be seen as the ultimate relaxation destination. And the World Travel Tourism Council, they do have that the Caribbean has continuously increased in terms of tourist arrivals and stuff like that. So the Caribbean doing a kind of pretty okay job. But tourism in the Caribbean is highly influenced by colonialism. Highly influenced by colonialism. The way in which we treat the tourists, and I should make a point here, predominantly white tourists, because we have some issues where tourists of color, they feel like they're not treated as the same way as persons that are white. The treatment that they get, the type of service that they will get, it comes directly from the great houses. And when the whole picture in your mind, the whole great house scene, the servants them coming to greet the master, making sure that they come to every single call, every single request that the masters had.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the larger, in my opinion, the larger islands were able to tap into that market because of the different resources that they had. And we must also look at it somewhat of the different control that they had as well. So let's see, let's use Jamaica for example, where Jamaica was home to some very large plantations. And these plantations were used as hotels. These plantations were actually the old plantations where the persons used to come in from abroad, stay there before they head out to wherever else they're going. So they were able to tap into the different. They had larger resources, as I said before, and as a result of this, you would see more tourists come into those countries because of the resources that they had in order to market themselves as well. Because the smaller countries, you in a situation like that, yes, you know about the smaller countries and so forth, but these bigger countries that had the financial resources in order to market their own self without having to wait on anybody else to market for them. With the other smaller countries now, and this was in the 50s, 60s, yeah, that's when air travel really just kicking off thereabouts. Yes, there were airports and stuff like that, but they weren't big enough to deal with the increased demand in tourists and stuff like that. And tourists would go to the smaller islands, yes, but it would be for them rare, luxurious type of vacation type stuff vibe. So yeah, that's how I think those bigger countries were able to actually kickstart their tourism, their tourism sector. But fun fact, Nevis, the Nelson is no the Bath Hotel. Yeah, Bath Hotel is actually the first official hotel that was in the entire Caribbean. And Bath Hotel is found in Nevis.
Oh,
And
wow.
really and truly, this is where persons, they used to just stop, just like a transit, stop on the voyage. Bath Hotel was right there, and it's very, very close to the ocean. And this is where they used to come in on their boats and stuff, steady and whatever. So if you're ever in Nevis, you could always just check out Bath Hotel. This is where the government offices are located now in Nevis. Yeah.
That's interesting. And to bank off with airport aviation, I know from my perspective, when it comes to St. Martin, our airport literally only existed because of World War II, when they put the U.S. Air Force strip, and it was oh, we have a strip. What we're gonna do with it now? And then they started, bringing in more tourists to come in after the war. Looking at it from the concept, and I think this is gonna follow up with one of the questions I have later. The whole concept of using these plantations to serve these white tourists to come in, how do you market that without trying to say you're marketing slavery? Because I know there's a current situation with a hotel, I think in Antigua right now, that's dealing with the same marketing issue. Well, not marketing issue, but how they're marketing it is oh, this is the experience of colonial times, etc., etc. Around that, how do you market those things without saying oh, we're still selling slavery per se?
You see, there, and I saw it on Twitter. I think, oh gosh, I don't remember which day was I saw it on Twitter, but somebody was like, the Caribbean, we have a very hard time um, knowing the difference between service and servitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that to be such a very, very good point. The way in which we market tourism, we should make sure that we market it to a broad audience, not just one demographic. Yes, there will be a lot of different type of tourists, um, based on your social status, based on your financial standings as well. But make sure you market it in such a way that everybody can enjoy that experience, can enjoy the experience of relaxing for once in their entire life. Then I have to go cook in a pot, none of them kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, to to oh, to separate it, to separate it from trying to market it as like a slavery thing. It definitely comes to the whew, to the type of service I receive.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are some hotels and some airlines, the type of service that they give to the tourists. You may sometimes want to question it and be like, is that really service or is that servitude?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it it's really hard. It's really hard to do that, to be honest. But I think the most important thing is marketing our tour our product, our tourism product in such a way that it appeals to every single person, every single demographic, no matter how much money you got, no matter your social status, or no matter the race, none of that. Market it to that. And I feel like this is an issue that, you know, a lot of our what do you call those tourism boards they have.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is a problem with the St. Kitts tourism board, where persons were very upset on Twitter that they kept using the same um, white persons in the commercials. So persons were asking
Yes.
can you
That
change it
is
up?
that is actually an issue across, I think, so many tourist boards, tourist ads
Mm-hmm,
across the region, because we have that same issue too. Like a lot of the times, sometimes of course like your you have your token Rastaman in the video with a coconut in their hand. I'm just like, okay, great, sure,
mm-hmm,
you find that. But a lot of our tourist ads sometimes always would feature like sometimes some of our like white residents, which I understand, like, okay, cool. You showing that, you have people that look like
mm-hmm,
who you probably marketing to here, but you have to remember that these countries are also predominantly black. And a lot of those commercials is usually just the black person serving to them and
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
not really them enjoying the activities or
mm-hmm.
doing stuff, which
It
is
doesn't. Go ahead.
problematic. I would that's the right word to use. It's problematic.
I don't think. Let me see. For me, I'm not saying that it's a problem. It's a full-on problem that they're just using predominantly white actors to portray the tourists. I think that the Caribbean is a melting pot of
Mhm.
different cultures, different races, and if you look at the data that you would get from the World Tourism, um, Travel and Tourism Council, you would see where a lot of these different tourists come from, and
Mhm.
it's a mixture of races coming into the Caribbean, coming and going into the Caribbean. Yes, we understand that your marketing strategy, if you're looking at a marketing strategy, you try as much as possible to make persons see themselves in the commercial. But at times we need to really and truly change it up a bit to include the diversity of the type of tourists that we see within the Caribbean. And I think that once we actually change that strategy, a lot of persons would actually start to feel comfortable with the whole idea of tourism advertisements, to be honest. Yeah.
Mhm. I agree completely. So moving on, we're actually going to get into like the nitty-gritty of this conversation. So we in a pandemic or a Panera Bread or a panoramic, or
Oh,
this is the
panoramic.
best one I heard today. We're in a Pepto Bismol. That was the best one I heard this today. It was great. I laughed for like 5 minutes straight. But we are dealing with COVID-19, and this is
Mm-hmm.
March is going to be probably the second starting of year 2 of everyone globally
Wow.
actually dealing with
With
this.
COVID.
So we're talking about, we realize that tourism, that is how 90% of the region makes most of its money. We understand
Mm-hmm.
that. We know that. We need these foreigners coming on these planes, on these cruise ships, even though we have no more cruise ships at this point. But we need these
Mm-hmm.
people coming on these planes to give us money, right? However, you have the obligation of dealing with, as a government of these islands, these countries, you have to deal with your public health issues as well. This is a pandemic. The virus is
Mm-hmm.
deadly. You have different ways. So, who do you find has been the best handling this situation so
Mm-hmm.
far? And who do you believe just not doing a good job at all?
At handling. Okay. Um. First of all, let me put a disclaimer. I really don't want to offend um, anybody's country or anything like that. However, data doesn't lie. Even in the Caribbean, we suffer from the lack of data, but data does not lie.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at the different strategies that have been implemented by the different governments as well. So, no, I'm not being biased to anything at all right now. Okay. Um, First, I must say Barbados at the top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
When the pandemic started, Barbados was the only Caribbean country that was still allowing international flights to come in. Well, they closed their borders, but they were allowing
Mm-hmm.
international flights to come in order to transport some cruise ship workers who were stranded.
Oh,
That
wow.
was lovely. They were being a safe haven for a lot of these stranded cruise liners as well.
Mm-hmm.
Barbados has positioned themselves in such a way to be the top Caribbean destination whenever the pandemic is over. That is
Mm-hmm.
exactly what Barbados has done. Where Barbados has dropped the ball now
Mm-hmm.
is where you would, and I did a Twitter post about this as well, is where you would realize that they're now putting the lives of tourism, the whole idea of tourism over their citizens. That is where
Mm-hmm.
the issue comes out now. And you'd realize that they know that whenever you do your testing and stuff, you must have the negative PCR when you're coming to the country and you
Mm-hmm.
get tested again and what's not. And if you're positive, or you just got to go straight to the quarantine place. They got the different quarantine stops and stuff like that. But they dropped the ball the other day where you had a massive community spread.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where I said they started out good, but then they ended kind of
Kind of shaky.
kind of shaky, but they still position themselves to be the top Caribbean destination, no matter what. And it's just because of them opening their shores to persons that were greatly affected by the pandemic. And not a lot of persons are against this whole new policy that the government trying to do now, where tourists that had to extend their stay because of the delay in results, the
Mm-hmm.
COVID test results, the government was actually going to either pay for the extended period that they were there for in the hotels, or they would do a round trip. I think it was a round trip, a ticket to Barbados. It's it's a good move to ensure that tourists would always come to your shores, but then at the same
Mm-hmm.
time you upsetting your citizens. Your
Yeah.
citizens should be your top priority. Yes, we know that without the tourist dollar, the country might fall under. But your
Facts.
tourists should always come first, no matter what the situation is. Your citizens, wait, I say you're a tourist. Oh, what? No, back it up, back it up, back it up. Your citizens should
Citizens.
always come first, no matter what. And honestly, if an election was supposed to be called now, I love Antimia with all my heart. If an election was to come now, they would get voted out.
Ooh.
Sorry to say, they would get voted out because of that position that they made with it. And if you look at Doxy's irritation index, you see where Barbados is heading. into that whole stage of tourism, the tourism life cycle, all the different stuff. The other country I think that did very well is Angola.
Ooh, big up
Angola has been
Angola one
able,
time.
yeah, one time bars. Angola has been able to maintain good standing with tourists. And I think St. Bart's as well. I got to change St. Bart's as well because St. Bart's had a lot of different yachts and stuff coming in, like with tourists left, right, and center, just allowing them to just anchor off and stuff like that. My third country, I would say St. Kitts and Nevis. From the time St. Kitts and Nevis closed those borders, everybody was just like, well, what are we going to do now? Nothing there to do. But then you would realize that the plan they put in place of when the borders officially opened it's amazing. As soon as you enter the airport, no matter if you got a positive or negative test, you're going to straight quarantine one time, no questions asked, steady up, don't move, nothing. Stop right there. And this is how Slickers has been able to control the COVID, the whole COVID situation. And you'd realize that under 40 cases they've had for the 2 years, under 40 cases, and that's amazing.
Goals.
That is
goals.
Ultimate goals
As
right
a
there.
Saint Martin, I am jealous. I am big jealous. With
That's
that and Angola, I think Angola probably in total have 3-4 cases.
Yeah,
and
I think
most
they
of those
only got one now.
And most of that was like imported. People who are in quarantine. Yeah. I think my only slight beef with Angola is just I can't afford their quarantine, which was slightly annoying because when I was home over the break, I have like all my closest friends over there in Angola, so I'm just like, you're so used to like, oh, I gonna hop on a boat, spend a weekend. You have to plan 3 weeks because you have to spend 2 of those weeks in quarantine. But it's good. It's important because at the end of the day, if you know anyone in Angola, for whoever's listening, and you have them on social media, they're in a party every night, living their best life. Meanwhile, yes, St. Kitts too. Every day, I get no message. We drinking tonight. We doing this tonight. Meanwhile, I have to wear a double mask. No, because we have like 50 different strains going on.
Brother, so. I'm in lockdown number 3. So it's crazy. It's really, so really is crazy. I think I forget a point about Barbados as well. The new bracelet system that they have, the tracking, I found that was excellent. That was very, very excellent. I have one issue with the whole bracelet thing though, but I can come down to that at a later point. I said the US Virgin Islands, I put them as half because I don't recall US VI. I know BVI closed their borders one time. There wasn't wasting no time. I don't ever remember US VI closing their borders. I don't ever remember it. I tried to think about it and I was just like, did they ever close their borders? Like, I don't know. I really don't know.
It's the USVI is such a strange. It's a strange concept in so many things in regards to like just being in the region because you're like, this is a Caribbean. These are Caribbean islands, but you have so much American laws and regulations that basically govern. So it's like sometimes you expect the USVI to just move. I wouldn't say lawless, but move with a slight bit of confusion just because you have those American regulations. But they're doing better than some of us. Yeah. So
they really like, are.
So it's like,
yeah, that's why I was like, I can get them a little half because I wasn't too sure. I know they had a spike for a while, but then it's like, yeah, nothing else after that. And then I have a bunch of VIP people on my social media, and I seen these men clubbing who ain't at hotel taking weekend trips, them kind of different things. And I just want to know if all of them saying in the same Caribbean region where COVID is. That's what I want to know. Like, and that's why I get them a half because there's still tourists are still going to US Virgin Islands. Yes, they still have cases, but it's not So I don't see it as so much of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I might be wrong, but yeah. Bad.
Not
The bad
bad.
ones, no.
Can you leave your your third name on the list for the last one? Because I have thoughts.
Girl, listen, I'm gonna start with that first, no, but let's start with Saint Lucia. Um, Saint Lucia. This week alone, Saint Lucia recorded 700 plus cases,
Ooh.
and this
Wait.
week,
Side note, we just want to make sure today is the
the 26th
26th of
of
January.
January. Yeah,
Yes.
to my understanding, they had 700 plus cases, but then they're now advertising to tourists come to St. Lucia for a COVID-free escape. Where they're going? Where are they going? You have 700 plus cases in your country. Where you going to put them? And it comes back to the same problem again. Yes, we understand that tourism is very important to the countries, but you need to take care of your citizens in the long run. In the long run, when tourists come to these countries, who are going to serve them? If your citizens them catch COVID and dead, who can serve the tourists? The tourism going to serve themselves? You need to look at these kind of things in the long run. Yes, it's going to be a very difficult time period, but you need to look at it now. And that leads me to the next country, Grenada. I love Grenada with all my heart. I got some very good friends in Grenada. But that situation with the Sandals Hotel, it rubbed me in a very wrong way.
Wait,
It
is the
rubbed me
Sandals
very wrong.
Hotel the ones with the ads? Is it the
I
Grenada
don't even
Hotel?
I don't even know. I don't even know, but I know Sandals was the one that had messed up with the quarantine stuff, and in
Mm-hmm.
terms of making sure that they're staying in line with making sure they keep the tourism in line.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tried as much as possible, to get behind the story. When you put your PR people them to work, and they come up with all kind of video, and we're ensuring that keep it, keep it, keep it. You mess up and then you try to play it off. No,
Mm-hmm.
you do not risk the lives of persons just like that. Next country, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Oh, let me drink. Let me sip here first.
Just letting you guys know, Dennis is currently drinking mango juice out of a wine glass because that's how we do things over
Yeah,
here.
only the best for me. Yeah. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I had a lot of high hopes for St. Vincent and the Grenadines in terms of controlling the whole COVID situation. And they were doing wonderfully. They were doing really, really well. But when you have a prime minister who would mock other Caribbean countries who are protecting themselves from the pandemic, when you have a prime minister doing that, how do you expect your citizens to want to actually protect them own selves? Other countries wearing masks, he out there joking about it. But look at them now, having 600 plus cases and are afraid to call it community spread. Where And then the prime minister came out early this week and he said, we should have stopped international flights.
Oh wow.
Should have.
Wow.
Should have. This was something that should have been done from the beginning. As soon as you have international flights come in, straight quarantine, no questions asked, full stop, don't ask nothing. Don't even ask if you name Tom, Dick, and Harry. Straight quarantine one time. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot risk your citizens getting infected where you have so much different cases right now. And let's go to this one, because mixing us country, and I was talking to my friend about it today, and I was very upset. I was so upset with this country, Antigua and Barbuda.
Oh, I love
No, I
Antigua.
have had I love Antigua. I really do love Antigua and Barbuda. Fair Antigua and Barbuda. But
Yes,
anyways,
vocals.
I have a problem with the strategy that Antigua and Barbuda implemented when it comes to tourism.
Mm-hmm.
ANU was one of the first Caribbean countries to open up their borders to tourists.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them, come in, come, we can take all your money, come.
Mm-hmm.
But then I asked somebody the question, and I was like, okay, when you have this influx of tourists coming in, right? Do they quarantine? Oh no, they just go straight.
Mm-hmm.
Now tell me, how is this not putting your citizens in danger? How what are you doing? You have, yes, you require them to have negative PCR tests and stuff like that when they're coming into the country, but that is not enough. By the time you're supposed to get the negative test 72 hours before, you know how much is 72 hours? You know how much could happen in 72 hours? Are you crazy? These kind of things that just make me wonder what exactly goes on behind government closed doors. Because I do not understand the Minister of Tourism, the Prime Minister, Uncle Gaston, how he
Hey,
could legit be like, yeah man, that's fine. Let them come through. So everybody just coming through. No quarantine, just vibes. That's it. That is it. I know Antigua and Barbuda, they're running into an issue right now where they have a lot of different cases, and the government was telling them that if they have 3 cases for 3 consecutive days, we're going into a lockdown. And that's exactly what is going to happen. If you
I
do not put these
saw
things in place,
I saw a meme, or I saw somebody said they were being very conspiracy theory about it on the timeline. It was like, all of a sudden we're having 3 cases a day,
hey,
sounding like this. You guys
I
wanted this
did.
lockdown. Okay, apparently. And
Oh my
then
gosh.
last but not least, we have
Oh
air
gosh.
over the world. Say where you find an island there.
Beautiful St. Martin. Beautiful St. Martin. I think St. Martin was the second country. I think it was the second
we open
Caribbean
up
country to open up
we
borders
open up
after Antigua.
early. We open up
Y'all had opened
early
up after Antigua or before Antigua?
after Antigua. Yeah. I think Antigua opened up
From
before us. Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the numbers. St. Martin too small to have the big numbers, eh? And that was my concern. I remember when the video came out of the prime minister when we first went into the whole pandemic, and she was talking about grab your crackers.
Hey, you going to leave my teacher silly
Listen,
alone, okay?
I love that woman, you know. Jeez. I remember she was talking about all of that. But then I realized that it's a Martin right now. It's just like business as usual.
As usual. Okay. So like I
Like,
said,
what's
I
going
spent
on?
I spent Christmas home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in general, I don't go out. Like I am a home body person in general. And then most of my
Mm-hmm.
friends weren't even like home. So it was like no reason for me to say I going on a drive or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, Christmas weekend, New Year's weekend, just everybody up in a party, everybody up in a club, pure vibes, no mask. I say,
Just
but
vibes.
we in the same pandemic or not? And what is crazy though, a lot of people ask me, because a lot of time the numbers I get, this is another issue we have. A lot of numbers we get is just from the dud side. We rarely get
Mm-hmm.
consistent numbers from the friend side. So we have no idea what's going on that side of
Mm-hmm.
the hill, right? And a lot of people ask me, like, oh, so some of these are imported. I'm like, yeah, maybe like 2 or 3, but this is a lot of this is community spread.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, then I just, it's like, okay, I understand we in quarantine people because we want everybody come in. So it's okay, cool. We already
Mm-hmm.
discussed our qualms with that because you put tourists above your citizens. But this is an economy for 16 square miles. You know, you need a little
Mm-hmm.
something. But the way people just move on and just, he was just like, there's no way. No way
Mm-hmm.
we in the same pandemic as everyone. And
Mm-hmm.
then this is going to be my side rant. We're having carnival. April. No, it starts in March. I think the first event is in March. But we're having Carnival. 2 weeks full Carnival shows. There will be virtual options. So, like, if you're not comfortable with going into the Carnival Village, you will be able to stream live it. But let me tell you, there is drama on St. Martin over this Carnival issue. I've also personally myself has like shared my levels of distaste just because I think I wouldn't be as concerned or as worried if I saw people being more responsible. But so many people are like, oh, I can't wear mask to make me feel weird, da 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 da. But did they be out every weekend? So I'm like, if you can't wear mask, you're the one out every weekend. You're gonna be in the village, and the Carnival Foundations brought out their rules, and they're like, yeah, we're enforcing rules, etc. But then all of us was like, okay, yes, you're enforcing rules, which is good. But you also have a rule, since all of us been old enough to go into the village, that there should not be any weed in the village, and every concert is a light up. So you don't have the best track record of you enforcing rules. So
how you going to enforce something in a whole carnival, in a whole pandemic?
In a whole pandemic, and there's been so much back and forth, so much issues with it. I've expressed my qualms. People are like, oh, we have to have carnival, da, 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 da. And I'm just like, you know, it's kind of wild when the Christian Council put out a statement that I agree with. Like,
I wanted to know where you was going with this, because I was like, huh?
Our Christian Council, they didn't even like mention nothing about like, it needs to be holy, whatever. But they literally mentioned like, yes, Carnival is our culture. Yes, this and this, but yes, we're in a pandemic. And this was my just little rant. Like, for someone that's from St. Martin that was there for like, I was there for like 5 weeks. And a lot of people didn't even know I was there for 5 weeks because I didn't go nowhere. I was just with my family chilling. And it's like, and we let people in, and it's, how to say it? The travel regulations is kind of interesting because, at least for me to get onto the plane, like people working at the desk had to verify that I had my test, and then I got through with the clearance to enter to the country. They're not leaving you on the plane until you get that clearance. But somehow I saw someone got denied by the border. So in my head, I like, which flight did you come on that you didn't get the proper clearance, that they have to deny you at the border? So it has so much, it's so much like holes and etc. throughout all the process. And nobody know how to wear a mask. Everybody mask on the chin. It's just it's so much happening. So much happening. And
I think they need to go ahead.
Yeah, it's just so much happening, and we're just moving like, yeah, come tourists, come, welcome.
Come in, like, have your fun. And I actually wanted to check to see the numbers in St. Martin. Overall, so far, you guys had 1,758 cases, total cases. And between the 12th to the 25th of January, there were 183 cases. This is just irresponsible to have a whole carnival during a pandemic when you have a new strain coming out and stuff that you don't really understand. Yeah, we understand their culture. We understand that. But they should have taken an approach that St. Kitts and Nevis had with a pure virtual carnival experience. Honestly, I wish St. Martin best of luck. Like, I don't know, like, what I could really tell them.
Look, I tried to tell them.
They clearly don't hear. They clearly don't hear. I wanted to make a special mention of the Cayman Islands. The Cayman Islands borders have been closed since they stopped sell Bryson bottle in the shop. Their bottles closed long time. Long time the borders closed. I can tell you that. And I made sure to verify it today. The borders were closed long time.
Mm-hmm.
The borders still closed to tourists. If you're a Caymanian, abroad, I hope that's the name. If you're Caymanian, they allow you to come in, permanent resident, them kind of stuff, they allow you to come in. But one of the good things about Cayman Islands, they have been able to sustain themselves even though the borders are closed. And I asked the question, why? And the person in Cayman Islands told me they just have good financial management. And this is something that we need to learn from the whole COVID pandemic. Three things, to be honest. One, financial management. Let us not wait until there's another pandemic, another situation that we find ourselves in outside the pandemic, where we're scrambling to find money. We really need to look at how we manage funds within these various Caribbean countries. That's very, very important. Two, we seem to forget that majority of the countries within the Caribbean are in something called the Caribbean Community, or something called CARICOM. This is something that is not theory. This organization is supposed to be something that is practical. And I find it very disappointing that countries are implementing their own little separate policies, their own separate regulations. They have to fight tooth and nail for them to be getting vaccines, for them to be getting the PCR tests, those kind of stuff. If you're in an organization together, you're working together. It is not every man for themselves. And this is one of the problems I had with the Barbados Brexit situation. This should have been a CARICOM initiative. Led by Barbados, and this would have been totally fine, because to my understanding, Barbados has that the GPS tracker thing. I think St. Vincent is trying something as well, and I think Antigua is trying an app as well.
Doesn't Jamaica have an app as well?
Oh, and Jamaica got the app, on your phone. Why are you having so many different apps? Pull the resources together. You got so many great minds in these territories. Pull those resources together for us to actually beat the pandemic together. And I think Mia said it, Auntie Mia said it in one of the first press conferences that she had. We in this together. And she kept stressing it that we in this together. And no, we're not. Clearly that is not the case, because everybody is doing their own separate thing. That's two. Three, we need to understand the importance of policy transfer within the Caribbean. We need to look at other countries to see what's that thing I'm looking for? What regulations have they used? What measures have they put in place for them to control it so well? Why can't we look at the Australia and the New Zealand handbook with how to deal with COVID? Use their best practices and try to implement them into the Caribbean. The Caribbean is a very small place. Yes, our laws might be an issue in terms of implementing certain strategies and whatever, but we can still pick here, and try to create one big framework for the entire region to protect the citizens from the whole pandemic. Because when you look at it and the entire world, the world ain't just looking at just Antigua and Barbuda or St. Kitts and Nevis or Barbados. The entire world is looking at it as the Caribbean. If one fall, all are we fall. And I think this is something that we really need to pay attention to. One, financial management. Two, using the organizations to the best of ability. That's what it was implemented for. That's what it created for to begin with. And three, understand the importance of policy transfer. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on that there. Sorry, I went off on a little tangent there, but we need to learn from the pandemic. We really, really need to learn from the pandemic. And or we're going to find ourselves in a big problem.
Sure. And it's kind of, I would say, when you mention, CARICOM and, everyone working together, it's pretty ironic because it just like dawned on me, like, I had to do a whole module on CARICOM and CSME in social
Mm-hmm.
studies in high school for CSEC. But
Mm-hmm.
now I'm out here and I'm like, learning more as a poli sci student with policy and everything. And you're paying attention more to stuff. I feel like, I don't know. I don't know if it's just me in the last like 10-ish years. CARICOM just became more of a fancy word than actual like some type of actual organization that's doing things. And then of course that's kind of like coming from me who come from a country that can't really be a part of CARICOM fully because we're still under the Kingdom of the
The
Netherlands, which
kingdom. Mm-hmm.
that's just another confusion by itself. Just I could talk to you 2 hours on why the
About that.
Kingdom of the Netherlands. A
Girl, come on, bring it
mess.
back in. Bring it back in
A
now.
mess. Just we choose peace today. We choose peace. But
Mm-hmm.
so like we're talking about collaboration and understanding and lessons that we learn. And I think one of the major lessons that we learn when it comes to our courts and our laws and how we treat tourists, we just give them a little doop, 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 like a little hand tap. So I think one of the biggest stories recently is coming out of Barbados. I think it's this influencer. Was she on Love Island or something like that? One of
Girl, I don't
these
know if she was on Love Island, Hell Island, Bigfoot Island. I don't know because she
was
irritates my soul.
on something. She was on something, and I think her boyfriend tested positive for COVID, and they broke quarantine. And all they got was like a simple fine. I don't remember the numbers, but they got a pretty like small fine that someone
I think it
with
was
that
8,000,
so
8,000 Barbadian dollars.
Barbadian dollars. And meanwhile, I saw, of course, on the timeline, I saw you learn everything on Twitter at this point.
It's a
But
university.
they talk about they talked about how earlier in the beginning of the pandemic, when a Jamaican citizen who was living in Barbados broke quarantine, they throw them in jail. So now, personally, as a personal stance, I don't believe in throwing everybody in jail, especially in a
Mm-hmm.
pandemic where you could get
I mean, there was a whole
more
outbreak.
courses of COVID in jail. But if you're reprimanding people, you're giving people punishment. You
Mm-hmm.
throwing a black man in jail versus giving the white people a little two tap, looking kind of shaky at this point. So basically, where I'm going with this question is why we know why, but let's just have a conversation on why these tourists have these level sense of entitlement and like how we give them the reason why to feel so entitled when they come to
Mm-hmm.
our
Mm-hmm.
countries, basically.
Okay. So there have been a lot of studies on the behavior of tourists, right? When it comes to tourism, there is a link between um, social norms and the behavior of the tourists coming in,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I remember I noted it here, Christina Bisheri, I hope that's correct, 1990 in Norms of Cooperation. She said something about social norms embody a form of rationality and are ultimately reducible to individual preferences and beliefs. What is the social norm when it comes to tourism? The social norm is we need them,
Mm-hmm.
they don't need us.
True.
When they come here, we serve them because we need the money. The
Mm-hmm.
social norm to them is that these places are our playgrounds and we are going to go and have fun. And Krippendorf in Holiday Maker 1987, he spoke about the type of tourists, right? So they are free to do as they please, to have a fling, to let off steam, right? So the idea that we pay for it, they have the idea that they pay for it. So therefore it is up to them to enjoy. That is the whole idea behind the tourism. And I think it comes back to us as well if we pay for a fit, I don't pay for it.
True.
I'm going to enjoy myself
True.
without thinking about any sort of consequences that can happen while at the fit.
Mm-hmm.
That is the idea that the tourists have, and he also William Sutcliffe. God, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, which I think I didn't. But in 1998, he wrote this book, and he stressed that tourists are self-interested, taking what's in it for them. So all three writers are all saying the same thing. You pay for it. They don't pay for it. They're going to take it. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it no matter what. And it's very important to know that not all tourists are like this.
Mm-hmm.
There are some ones that they take into consideration of what they're doing to the different destinations. And those type of tourists are actually forming that new type of tourism.
Mm-hmm.
I could touch on that maybe later on, however, right? So you'd realize that they lack any sort of responsibility, any sense of responsibility. They're there to have the time of their life. That's where they could raise the voice at whoever the person is and do it correctly. And a lot of times they don't even realize that that's what they're raised to do. That is how they were brought up. When you go on vacation, the idea of vacation is for you to just relax, and that is it. And taking every single thing that they have to offer, and that is legit some of the attitudes of these tourists, not only in the Caribbean but throughout the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
Dubai is a perfect example. Just a while
Mm-hmm.
ago, where a lot of social media influencers flew to Dubai and saying that they're updating the Instagram pages and whatever was essential work. And them going increase the cases in Dubai, where Dubai had to change their regulations for persons coming in and going out of the entire country, because Dubai was doing a very, very good job in terms of controlling their COVID cases. But because of those social media influencers, the tourists, whatever, because they feel like, oh, we could just go there and have the time of our
Mm-hmm.
lives without taking into consideration of any of their actions. Yeah, that's where you have an increase in cases. Um, at the tip of the iceberg, for me, the question about the courts, where the courts only give them a slap on their wrist. This is a question that I really don't know how to answer it,
Mm-hmm.
because at the tip of the iceberg, I could look at it as them not trying to destroy the relationship that I have with tourists, them
Mm-hmm.
trying to protect the country as well. But then underneath, the iceberg that's under the sea, we don't really know exactly what goes on in the courtroom. Like, we don't know how great these lawyers are. And with the young lady and her boyfriend and the other British couple as well, they had very strong lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
So it really goes back to the law, really and truly, how they interpret the law and stuff like that. From my understanding, because I did ask, from my understanding, um, if you cannot pay the fine, you would go to prison. You would have to go to prison for for a period in time. But if you can pay it, you can go ahead and pay it. But this is where we're dropping the mark as well. We're giving them too much free liberty.
Yeah.
We need to all of us, not even just the tourists, but all of us, tourists and citizens alike, we need to have a sense of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
We need to make sure that it cannot be business as usual. It really cannot. We cannot be waltzing down St. Lawrence Gap in Barbados without a mask on, with a Caribbean we have or whatever, thinking everything is dandy. No, we need to protect ourselves. We need to have some sort of responsibility. And this is what I'm doing with my research as well. Looking at how we can be responsible, looking at how we can learn from responsible tourism and apply it to aviation. Um, Krippendorf was the father, you could say, of this new concept called responsible tourism. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I spoke about it briefly on my Twitter, where it's just trying to get everybody to be very responsible of their actions. every single stakeholder within the tourism industry to be responsible. So not only the tourists, but the airline, the
Mm-hmm.
governments, especially all the different associations, all the different industries that are linked to tourism. You need to be held responsible. We can't continue to go down this line where we want to blame the tourists for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the tourists might be patient zero, but because of our lack of responsibility, we gonna got community spread
Yep.
because we want to be dillying and dallying and going where every single pan knock, we want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we need to accept some sort of responsibility. And I think these governments, in being responsible, they need to be more harsher.
Yeah.
They need to put their foot down. You need to be like, hello, we are not playing with you. Do
Mm-hmm.
not come into a country and think that you can do as you like. And I think Canada, Canada put their foot down with that, with tourists that were coming in. They was like, not in here, not boat here. You could try that at your mother house, but not in here. And I think that is exactly what we actually need to start to do. Change. We need to change how we look at tourism
Mm-hmm.
when the pandemic is over. Out of the pandemic, we need to look at a whole new tourism industry. We really need to change it up. So that we cannot have these entitled tourists coming into our country. All of
Mm-hmm.
us, we need to accept responsibility. We cannot allow for another pandemic or for another big situation to happen and we scrambling.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't happen. So now is the time for us to use through policy transfer and through these different organizations for us to put our heads together and come up with a strategy in such a way where we protect ourselves, but still getting the dollars, still getting that foreign exchange from the tourists that are coming in. But that's my 2 cents. My
That's some
little
good
two
two
cents
cents.
there.
That's some really good 2 cents. And I agree with you a lot. It's like when you go to a place, I think it's just a mindset I have personally. Anytime I'm traveling, I'm not going to a place. It's like, think about the concept of going to a hotel room. You stay in a hotel
Mm,
room and you're about to leave. You're going to leave all your plates stack up and, you put things in a little garbage, you clean up a little
exactly.
bit. Yeah. I ain't tell you fix the bed, like, or how the person's fixed the bed, because I personally don't know how to do that. But, make the room look decent when you
Treat it like
leave
you would treat yours. Like treat it like you would treat your own
the
place.
bedroom, right? So
Mm,
it's like those type of concepts and stuff, and I saw it a lot. I think one of my biggest issue I had back home was the state of our beaches,
mm,
because my grandparents and I, we used to go to the beach like 7 o'clock in the morning, early when the sun rising, no
mm,
one's there. And when we would
mm,
go on Mondays, because apparently Sunday is the big beach day, tourists, locals, everybody there, right? And when
mm,
we go on Mondays, like, I picked up mask out to the beach,
mm.
bottle caps, cups, bears. Like, I'm on my walk, I'm on my morning exercise, and I'm here like picking up random stuff off the sand. And I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
you're not thinking about the land environment, the sea environment,
Mm,
especially when you have a restaurant on the beach where the sea is literally how they make their money. Like,
mm-hmm,
I see
mm-hmm.
the fishermen go out every morning to catch the fish of the day. It's like, you have all these signs big in your face. Keep our beach clean. And you're still doing this. And I'm just like, of course, a responsibility on both ends, both, tourists and
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
locals. But I'm just like, come on. Come on.
We need to we need to hold each other accountable for
Mm-hmm.
the different things that we do to our country. Environment, in politics, no matter what we do, accountability is very, very important. And I think that's one thing that needs to be stressed through the entire global pandemic. we need to hold each other accountable for when we mess up. We cannot be on social media being big and bad, saying that, oh, these tourists come in and do whatever. But at the same time, you're basically doing the same thing that the tourists doing. Yes, we understand that the country is COVID free or whatever, but anything could happen at any time.
Yep.
My mother just always tell me when I used to get in trouble, prevention is better than cure. If you didn't touch the hot pot, you wouldn't have gotten burned.
Yep.
So we really have a lot to do as people. But I think we can do it.
That's true.
Together.
We have
Together,
it's unity. And I
it.
know a lot of people is like, I'm tired of all this like unity talk, but at the end of the day, you have to work together in order to get something done. And I think because we are so wow, this is so really bad. We are so prideful. I think that's like a main issue. Us as Caribbean people, we're prideful. We want to do one thing and we want to be very nationalistic with it as well. Shout out to Gaston Brown. You know, fun fact. I think my mom she's not gonna be happy I said this. But fun fact, my mother did A-levels with Gaston Brown. So that's
Okay.
I might have to edit that out. Who knows? But yeah, so everybody wants to be nationalistic and be big bad. Hey, this is this. But at the end of the day, we've seen it with the last hurricanes that came through the region with Irma and Maria, etc. We're seeing it now with the global pandemic. How the world is going and how the universe feels like acting up, I feel like something else is going to happen in the next couple of years as well. So we need to understand that we have connections and we be able to collaborate. And yeah, that's it. And but
couldn't have said it better, Cam.
We could wrap up. We're gonna wrap up our discussion here with a nice, light, fun question.
Oh dear.
No, just to end on a good note. And I decided while we were talking, I'm gonna switch up the question a little bit, just to give you a little bit more freeway. It's gonna be good.
Okay.
So you have to list. We're gonna go back and forth, and we're gonna list our top 5 Caribbean destinations. Back and forth.
Oh my days.
Top 5. You go first.
Oh God, girl, hold on there. Let me put me cheese and bread. Oh gosh, I need to write them down.
Not write them down. The top 5.
Okay, my top 5 in no particular order. U.S. Virgin Islands.
That's 3 islands in one. That don't count.
Hello, I'm saying U.S. Virgin Islands. It counting as one. I don't think it count as one. Definitely got count as one.
All right. So USVI. Okay, my first one. A little biased, but Anguilla.
Boss, I was just about to say Anguilla.
But that could be the next one.
Yeah, Anguilla is my next one. You see the beaches? Oh my!
Anguilla is beautiful. Okay.
Wow.
Anguilla is. Wow. I have fun every time. Every time I go Anguilla. My second one will always be Antigua.
Okay, that's a good one. Trinidad and Tobago.
Ooh, jealous. Big jealous.
Trinidad. Oh, the food. The food is what has kept me for Trinidad.
I'm just letting you guys know, Trinidad, as soon as the pandemic is over, I will be there at the airport.
Yes.
I'll be right there.
Yes.
Number 3 for me will probably be Curacao. I like it. I like it.
I've never been to Curacao. I've just seen pictures and stuff like that.
It's really nice and the food is really good. It's just, you might have a slight language barrier, just a little bit, but it's good. I really like Curacao.
My other one is going to be Barbados. I love Barbados to death. I was there for 3 years for university, and I actually told my mother I could see myself living in Barbados. I really love Barbados. Yeah,
I still haven't been, which is ironic because
you need to.
Everyone always talk about, I love Barbados. I can't get on a Caribbean Airlines flight to Barbados yet.
It's
but
expensive as hell, but
it is. It is.
yeah,
Um,
Barbados always have a special place in my heart. Yeah.
Number 4 for me will be
Mm-hmm.
Grand Cayman. Oh, since we just call in all the countries, the Cayman Islands. That is number 4 for me.
Oh my
Cayman Islands
gosh.
is a little lower down because it's been so long since I've been been,
Mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm.
my time in the Cayman Islands was great.
Was good.
It was fun. I went for a
Jealous.
camp and I had the time of my life.
Must be nice. My fifth one, and I was struggling with this. Oh, Lord, I hope none of my friends them hate me. But I'm gonna say Montserrat. Reason being is just so quiet, and I love, 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 love nature.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I would definitely say Montserrat. And when I went twice, LADC and with the church Pathfinder Club, it was just an amazing experience. Like, even though you guys sleep at night time and you're hearing crap outside, but I love Montserrat. It's just nature. The nature, it was like, yeah.
Montserrat does look very, very pretty. And I think the only reason I haven't made the journey is because I am not doing that boat ride. I get seasick. I am refuse. My
It's cheap,
brothers
oh.
described it.
Oh.
My brothers described the boat ride because they went over there for camp. And you
Not the
know,
best.
and you know that flight to and from Antigua to Montserrat costs a little
Yeah.
change. So my fifth will be, I'm not gonna say the whole like country. I'm gonna just say Bequia.
Oh my God. How could I forget about, you mean Beckway in St. Vincent and the Grenadines?
Yes, Bequia.
Beckway. Oh my gosh. I forget about Beckway.
I went there for a day trip.
Ooh.
Because we went camp in St. Vincent and we went there for a day trip. My experience in St. Vincent, sorry, anyone who's from St. Vincent, was horrible.
That was amazing.
But that one day too, that was great. It was so beautiful. The beach was great. It was time of my life. And that was back in the day when you edit your pictures like really, really, really bad. So I have a picture for the beach. I have on these really big shades that they were not cute. And I had like my two deuces up, and it was yes. And I deep fried it and put the little words on top of it. That was what, 2011. Come on, that's all we used to do.
That was a time, boy.
That was a time, but that was
I totally forgot about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. No,
Ooh.
I love Vinci because of breadfruit.
Just because of breadfruit.
And the green. I love nature. It's just so green.
And someone did get slapped in the face by a bush while we were driving through the hills. So that's my favorite St. Vincent memory.
Oh my gosh. No, please.
That was great. But we're going to wrap it up.
Yes.
So thank you once again, Dennis. This was really insightful. This was a really great conversation.
Yeah, it really was. And
this was fun.
Persons who listen, they try to do their part to see like how we could beat it together. Yeah. Yes.
So thank you everyone for listening for the first episode. This is episode 1 of the We Talkin Podcast presented by Island Girl Ting. Like I said, our first guest was Dennis McCall. He taught us about a lot of important things. I hope you listened. I hope you took notes. If you're in the government, please present this to your boss. Listen to your boss, of course. But thank you once again. Make sure to follow our social medias, our Instagram and our Twitter at Island Girl Ting. That is ISLANGALTING on both Instagram and Twitter. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye, guys.
If you didn't understand before, I hope you understand now, because you're now listening to the We Talkin Podcast, brought to you by Island Girl Ting. This podcast, we are literally talking about every and anything with your girl, Camila Gomes. So subscribe from wherever you get your podcast and get ready to talk.